Who came, thank you so much. It's a beautiful evening, so thank you for spending the time with us. There were some things just I personally thought were important for all of us to have an understanding of. A few of my neighbors are here, thank you very much. And we've talked about some of the things and another woman that I just met, things going on in our community that we're not really sure what you read, is it correct? Is it really worse? Is it better? Are there things that we should be aware of that we can be more in control of? Home invasions, the drug use, the cartels, the border crossing. It's just so many things that are influences in our life that I don't know how bad it is. I don't know, especially in the future. We have sanctuary cities in our state. What's coming. So, as I was talking to some people, I just said, there's only one person I know who could give us some pretty good answers. He's been around for a bit, so. Called Sheriff Bouchard, and he was very, very graciously accepted to come and speak to us. So thank you very much. There isn't much we need to say about you because you've been here taking care of us for a long time.
Well, thank you. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm always happy to go out and about and chat with folks and answer questions, and most importantly, bring my trusty sidekick, Deputy Max, one of our 13 trauma comfort dogs. He is 5, and he always steals the show, so I like to bring him because it's harder for people to yell at me when I bring a cute little dog. I know, I'm talking about you. So we use them in a program to help people that are in a traumatic situation. Most of them, or a lot of them, are assigned to school resource deputies. We have one assigned full-time to Oxford High School. We have dogs assigned here. We have Indy, we have Wildcat, we have a number of dogs all across the county. We have one assigned to an accident investigator, does a lot of death notifications. And so we try to send them to situations where people are in crisis or experiencing trauma, and it gives them something to kind of glom onto and hang on to and hug and kind of refocus their energies. We were looking for a gentleman that potentially was going to commit suicide in a very large park, and we were searching, and his wife was there, and I was trying to calm her down, and it wasn't working much, and so we put one of our pups in her arms, and she immediately just kind of whole demeanor changed, and we did tragically find her husband deceased, but it really helped her in the moment. And so they've been super great for us, and even on the inside of our agency. I mean, it's been a stressful stretch for our folks. We had, deputy killed in the line of duty, and we had COVID, and then we had Oxford, and then we responded to MSU active shooting, and so a lot of our people are feeling a lot of stress and all the things that everyone else does, obviously, but they have to get back up and go to work. The day after Oxford, they were all back at it, and actually I had to leave a wake for one of the students from Oxford to go to another active shooter. And when I got there, a lot of the people going in the door were people that had gone in Oxford. So, it's just constant. And so having these little guys running around the halls, you can see the demeanor and the smiles. And so I think it's been one of the best programs that we've been able to do for a lot of different reasons, especially in the environment we're in. There's so much anxiety and mental health challenges and road rage, and people just are tense and angry these days. And having these guys has made, I think, a big impact. So they're all donated, and the sponsor gets to kind of work with us and pick a name. So a realtor for Max Brook. Max. Nope, relax. And so, different folks have donated. Clarkston Schools actually donated Wildcat in honor of the mascot for Oxford Schools and Oxford. So a lot of people pitch in and get us access to this, and they have been amazing. So lots of people say, well, why is is that really a dog, police dog? So I always try to explain what they do. And a lot of agencies around the world in the country are now copying the program. We were the only agency in the country to do this breed and to do this size. A lot of agencies have comfort dogs, but they usually have like a lab or an Irish. Great dogs, but I picked this on a number of reasons, in part because they're not threatening to anybody. A little kid gets scared when a big lab walks up to them and they're eye to eye. And plus, we take these to hospitals to see kids in the hospital and put them up in the bed, or visit a senior center and put them on the lap of somebody in a wheelchair. So they're just a lot more versatile for us in the situations that we're asking them to kind of go into. So that's them. So to your questions, there's no lack of work for us, and the substation commander is here. You all probably know. If you don't know, he's in the back. Stand up, Lieutenant Cummins. So he's the Independence substation commander for us. So we appreciate the work of you and your team every day. And you know, that's the way in which we operate. Every one of our substations has a commander that I appoint, and they basically become your local police chief, if you will. They go to the local meetings and they make sure they stay in touch, and all the deputies and the folks that work at that substation go to work there every day, and that's their base, and get really familiar with the community and all those kinds of things. So for us, it kind of works out to be the best of all worlds, because we get that local community, but we also get folks get a chance to rotate if they want to change a pace. Like if you're working in, let's say, Pontiac, and it's really busy there, maybe you want to, after a couple of years, take a break and go to Addison and see what the cows are doing on midnights, you know, when they get out. And so it gives them a chance to refresh and then to come back and do different jobs. In a lot of agencies, you know, you're in that same 4 or 5 square miles for your whole career. So for us, you know, we go from super busy to rural, you know, and we also have all the different kinds of operations, so it allows them to, you know, kind of stay fresh and be reinvigorated when they get a different or new assignment. And in that regard, you know, we've obviously got a lot going on. We just held a town hall on Monday night about the transnational gangs that have been hammering Oakland County. At one point, we felt they were taking almost $1 million a week out of Oakland County. For us, it kind of came on really fast. There was a few of them over time, and not really a high degree of awareness what it was a burglary. But then as we got deeper into it and we started to get a rash of them, I really became schooled up on what we were facing. I'm head of government affairs for Major County Sheriffs of America, so the biggest agencies in the country. And I communicated with some of my other partners and colleagues in other agencies in Santa Barbara, California, and in Florida and elsewhere, Vegas and elsewhere. Are you seeing anything? What are you seeing? And began to get intelligence briefs from federal agencies, Border Patrol, HSI, and you know, I've got a top secret clearance so I can get classified briefs and really learn deeply what was going on. And lo and behold, you know, what we were seeing here in Oakland County were Chilean national gangs. And initially when I started to talk about it, people were obviously acting kind of strange to me, and I couldn't figure out why. They were mad that I was calling out people coming from South America, and you know, but the fact is I knew who they were and where they were coming from. So I guess once we actually were able to release the mugshots, a little less people were complaining about it. But what we know is this: there's basically 3 buckets that the Chilean gangs work. They work high-end home burglaries, they work jewelry robberies of jewelry stores or jewelry couriers, and then there's LFA, larceny from autos, kind of smash and grabs kind of thing. We've not seen the LFA type of activity here really to a great extent by these gangs. California getting hammered by it. California resident formerly knows what's going on out there. They get hammered by it. So what we were seeing is the high-end burglaries and the jewelry store robberies. So we ended up actually, the Violent Crime Task Force, which is on my campus, and we were able to, out of our Oakland Township substation, put cases together on some individuals, and we ended up charging criminally 3 of them with the Attorney General, and then 4 here locally. The ones with the jewelry were charged with armed robbery at Oakland Mall and Great Lakes Crossing. And the burglaries, we charged with the Attorney General's office for ongoing criminal enterprise. We sought the highest charge we could get rather than a simple burglary, because imagine if you're coming from Chile, if you can go back home and be waiting with 900,000 sitting at home, you're fine with going to prison for 4 or 5 years. I mean, that's an investment. So, but if we get you for ongoing criminal enterprise and we can drop a 20-year felony on you and send some messages, And so we kind of went quiet after we did that. And then I also asked all the area chiefs to start up a task force with me. So we started a thing called SEMCAP, which is Southeast Michigan. And so the chiefs in Southeast Michigan, Oakland, Wayne, Macomb, our state and federal partners, we're on a task force. We share information. If somebody gets hit anywhere, we immediately communicate. We all fan out, start looking, because usually they do more than one in an area before they move to another city or state. And so we've been pretty effective at working together since we kind of got our arms around it. All 7 of the ones that we have charged in Oakland County were Chilean nationals, and all had violated the visa waiver program and had come in and violated that program, obviously illegally. So I'll tell you, the visa waiver program is this. There's only one country in South America that has a VWP, that's Chile. And the VWP allows you to apply online and undergo less scrutiny and less background information and share less information with the federal American government about who they are or why they're coming here. They're coming as a tourist, which is why they've now been labeled the tourist burglars nationally. So people are well aware of it nationally. And the problem is they get here, they immediately ditch those credentials, they get 3 or 4 fake credentials, and off they go. They've been extremely well trained. I believe there's a training camp in Chile, very much almost like special forces, because we've got videos, and I could have brought that, I suppose, but we actually just did a town hall again on this on Monday night, so I'm not just going to talk about the burglaries in Chile and National Gang, but they are really well trained. They come in typically 3 to 6 on a team, and they'll go hit a house with 3 to 4 people typically at the house, and then usually support staff, support team members around the house. And what we've seen is usually each person's got their own assigned duties at that particular burglary. So one's a breacher, very much like a military special ops team. One's the breacher. They pop a window and they go through it. They don't open it. Or pop a glass, like a full plate glass window, go through it, they don't open it. The second guy, usually right next to him, is their electronic warfare person. He's doing jamming. He's got a high-tech jammers that jams wireless signals for alarms, cameras, cells, etc. So the one guy will pop the window, and you'll actually see the guy with the jammer kind of reach in through that window, and then a third person is monitoring all the reactions and different things. And you'll see if there's nothing that happens, then through that they go. Immediately off to the master bedroom, typically walk-in closets. That's usually where women put their high-end items, their purses, your jewelry, men to have their watches, etc. That's what they're focused on. Jewelry, high-end watches, high-end purses, cash, things like that. They'll brute force a safe right on scene if they can get it quickly. If not, they take it with them. And even decent-sized safes they'll take with them. So in the town hall on Monday night, people were saying, well, I've got a 5-foot safe. It took 3 of us to get in the house. I said, yeah, well, there's 4 of them in your house, and they don't care about the wall. The wife's not watching them. You know, they're shoving that thing downstairs, and they're just knocking things out. And we've seen them slide it down the stairs outside and out to a car, and off they go. After one of the last burglaries, our dive team actually recovered a safe in a pond in Livingston County. They had brute forced it out there, then threw it in the pond, and they were out of the state. So very well trained. They do a lot of pre-op surveillance, pattern of life. When are you going to be home? When are you not going to be home? Sometimes they use cameras to track your movement. Sometimes they actually put a tracker on your car. Sometimes they may fly a drone to get overwatch pre-op surveillance. Very in-depth kind of pattern of life. When are you home? When are you not? They like to avoid you, the Chileans. They like to go in when you're not home. If you suddenly are home for some other reason, or maybe your kid came home from college and they don't expect them to be there, a light comes on, usually they flee. That's the Chileans. That's been the experience so far. No guarantee, but they've been conflict adverse. The Colombians, not so much. They're very much prone to having weapons and feeling very comfortable using them. They've done box-in armed robberies on freeways, broad daylight in California. So we know that we had a Colombian team in Oakland County about a week and a half ago. So now they're just starting to put their toe in the water. We've been getting hammered by the Chileans. So my request to the federal government has been stop or at least pause the visa waiver program. I mean, when you get 7 that have been arrested just here in my county on that program, we call that a clue. And they just have refused to even pause the program. I just got a call on the way here from CNN, and yesterday I was on Fox and Friends. Nationally, they're talking about it, but the only thing you're getting out of the federal government is we're aware of the problem, we're very concerned about it, and we're communicating with our partners in the Chilean government. Well, that's a whole lot of blah, blah, blah. All I got to do is pause the program, but they won't do it. Don't ask me why, I don't know. And then the Colombians are typically coming illegally across the southern border, as are the Venezuelans, which we're now seeing in this country as well, Venezuelan gangs. And the CNN reporter actually was asking me if there's been a correlation or a connection with the Venezuelan gangs, and also told me some of the nuances that she's aware of. She actually was born in Venezuela. So not a good development, obviously. Our southern borders are a problem on many levels, but we know that these active criminal gangs are coming across the border to commit crimes against our people. And that goes on top of the fentanyl, which we certainly can talk about and should talk about. We're seeing just incredible amounts of fentanyl come across the southern border. And the two participatory countries are Mexico, by and large, and China. And China is very much involved because they're making the chemical precursors, the ingredients for fentanyl, synthetic fentanyl, or they're making it outright. So they're very much aware of where it's ending up. And we're putting absolutely no real impactful pressure on them to stop it. And we've had 100,000 American deaths for the last 3 years from fentanyl. And again, we just seem to be whistling at the problem and not addressing the underlying, where is it coming from and how do we protect America? And that's with our adversaries. So we know people coming across the southern border, big problem. My friend who's the sheriff, who's one of the largest border counties in the country, went out to his border and watched a census of the daily census of who they caught that day. The biggest number was Chinese nationals, men fighting age. And you're also seeing from Iran, from Yemen. So we're talking direct adversaries of this country are coming across the southern border. And there's actually a video, you can probably Google it, where a property owner there has found all of the identification, because they're told as soon as they cross the border, burn their national identification or dump it there, and then give themselves up because they'll be processed and released into the country. And we don't have a clue who they are. They give you a name, there's no way to verify it. And right now, the court dates they're getting to come back and to be determined if they are allowed to stay here, they're 10 years out. So it's a deep problem. And the Major County Sheriff's of America position is secure our borders. And that's a group of Republicans and Democrats that are dealing with the challenges that an unsecure border brings to every community in America, not just border communities. I mean, we can talk fentanyl deaths and fentanyl problems here in Oakland County in big numbers. And obviously we can talk about burglaries and those kinds of things. And you've seen the violent crimes in all across the country. It's hard to wrap your head around that no one's doing anything on a national level. And it's frustrating because, we're working real hard to catch people when they're here, but if every team we catch, there's 10 more coming in, you're fighting a losing battle, and that's kind of the way we feel. So it's frustrating. And on the fentanyl front, I tell you that, our overdoses are through the roof, and a lot of it is exactly that, synthetic fentanyl, that the precursors or the actual components are made in China, and they're super strong, and right now they're super cheap. And so people are buying things on the street and have no clue of what they're getting, because they have counterfeit pill presses, and they're pressing counterfeit components to look like a pill. So sometimes kids will go, I want to study, I got college finals, I'm going to go buy an Adderall. So they go out to the street and say, I know a guy. And the guy sells what looks like an Adderall, but it's got fentanyl in it. And so that's why we've adopted the program. After I met with the head of the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, one pill can kill kind of talking points. because a lot of the kids that are dying have no clue that what they got has fentanyl in it. And it's not just, heroin. So one day I went back to our crime lab where one of our chemists had laid things out, for testing for the day, and I said, how much of what is on your table to test, or was just tested, have fentanyl components in it? I was thinking it'd be at, maybe 30, maybe 40%, 80%. And that includes marijuana. So, if you're buying marijuana on the street, sometimes it's laced with fentanyl. So if you're a marijuana user, go to a licensed, regulated, inspected facility. If you buy anything in the street, including marijuana, you're rolling the dice. And that's the message for your kids and your grandkids, that anything from the street has the chance to put your lights out forever on the first try. And there's groups that I've done presentations with. I did a group presentation at a full high school assembly in southern Oakland County with the Fentanyl Fathers. These are groups you never want to have membership in. The Fentanyl Fathers are guys that have lost their sons and daughters to an overdose, and most of their kids had no idea that they were getting fentanyl. They were at Birmingham C Home, Birmingham Groves, Birmingham Brother Rice. These are kids that had the world in front of them and had no idea what they got. Yes?
I got a question for you. If I'm a drug dealer and I'm selling drugs, why do I have fentanyl? I'm killing the people I want to sell to.
That, the question, I guess I got to repeat it because otherwise you won't hear it on your live stream thing. Is that right?
Yes. Correct.
Correct. Okay, so the question was, for you at home, if you're a drug dealer, why would you be selling something that kills your customers? And the answer is, there's been a paradigm shift. In the old days, it was like you give them a taste, you get them hooked, and then a repeat customer. And it was a smaller percentage of the population. Now, they don't care. They can kill 100,000 and still have 100,000 next year to kill, and the next year, and the next year, which they've done 3 years in a row. And the profit margin is out of sight because it's just so easy to get in and so easy to sell. So they don't care. And again, think if you're an adversary like China, you don't care how many Americans you kill. So, it's a big problem. And, it's important for people to be aware of it. If you have kids, to talk to them honestly about it, because most kids will roll their eyes. But when, like the Fentanyl Father shows a picture of his, 17-year-old daughter who just, thought she was having a half of a Valium and ended up dying, it's a different equation. And it happens to all sorts of folks in situations you wouldn't expect. The path to addiction lots of times is very different than a lot of people think. It could be a sports injury, like a kid that blew out their Achilles, and they get medicated, they get surgery, they got a lot of pain, the script runs out, they go to the street to get an alternative, they end up getting one of these pills and it's lights out. 3 girls that played soccer with my daughter are dead. And they're, again, the path is very different. Oral surgery, people with back pain. Whenever the script runs out, a lot of folks go to the street, and that's when you're truly rolling the dice. Yep.
Mike, on robberies, how many robberies in Oakland County are from druggies that are looking for money to be able to buy drugs? Is that,
I guess we can't really quantify how many burglaries are related to people that are addicted, that are doing, crimes to pay for the addiction. I can tell you that the Chileans are not. The high-end burglaries, that's all cash and carry. That's not to feed a drug habit. That's to get as much as they can. They convert it they monetize it as fast as they can. And lots of times, they exit the country. Yes.
So what can the townships and cities do to help either make the citizens aware or help you in dealing with the Chileans and the Venezuelans and the Colombians and the XYZs?
Yeah, I've tried to get out and talk about it as much as I can, even though in the beginning I was called a lot of bizarre names for actually just speaking the truth about it. But now I think it's become painfully obvious what it is and how it's national. I mean, you can Google it and you'll find national stories from New York, from Virginia, from California, where, you know, they're saying the same thing. I mean, there are 2 Democratic members of Congress that wrote the Chilean government about it. So it's not like it's not known. So we're trying to get the information out here to let people know and to tell them some of the things they can do or should think about. First is situational awareness. Notice what's going on around you, around your home, not just when you're home, shopping centers. We know there's also transnational gangs that are working shopping centers these days, stealing purses. A lot of them are from Eastern Europe, Romania, and elsewhere, and they are just hammering the whole country and moving across the country where they're taking women's purses. Actually, their wallets out of their purse while you're shopping. So if you set your purse in a shopping basket, you're A on the target list. Even if you have it over you, but it's maybe slipped behind you and it's not zip closed, we got video of them going in and getting the purse out or the wallet out of your purse. So, and they monetize it super quick and then they move on just like that to another state. Home goods is a very common place for a woman to get hit. All across the country. So it's a lot of it's information, situational aware. Notice yourself. You got a purse. You're in shopping. Keep it in front of you. Keep it over your shoulder. You know, if you're going to be purse snatched, let it go. If they're going to get violent, give it up. But the ones that are trying to steal it without you knowing, the reason they want to do that is they know then you may not notice for a while. You spend 20 minutes shopping in the store. They're already at the Apple store. And they're maxing out every credit card you have before you even realize when you get to the counter, my wallet's not here. And then you start looking around the store, and then you go back out to your car and go, did I leave that at home? And so they know they usually have a couple hours to max out every card that's on your wallet. They take the cash, off they go. So situational awareness, 1. Around your home, you know more than we would ever know what car or people belong in your neighborhood. Like, you know, that car's odd. I think the Smiths are in Florida for the winter. Call. We'd rather check out 100 nothings than miss one real deal. Because the only way we're going to catch, especially these transnationals, say move in, we don't know they're here, is a neighbor to call or an alarm to go off. That's the only, you know, there's no like early warning system. It's either going to be a neighbor's call or an alarm system. And the alarm system is probably not going to catch them. It may scare them off, keep your valuables, but when you think about it, your alarm, a lot of folks have a minute delay on their alarm. So if they pop your door, minute delay, they can go inside, run up the master bedroom, grab a couple things. Now it's going off. Well, we better get out of here. The alarm goes to an alarm company. Their first call typically is to you. Did you set your alarm off? And you're like, no, I'm in Florida. Well, I think I should call the police. So then it goes to the dispatch center, then it goes to a car. Now if a car is close, it's 4 minutes for that car. If they're not close, it's farther. So you're talking 10 minutes plus before the car gets there. They're in the wind if that alarm went off. So it's really neighbors mostly. The alarm will help either scurry them away, might catch them if it's a silent alarm or it's a car happened to be in the area. But that's what we count on, is you to see something and say something, and then up your game on your alarm system if you have one. First off, use it. I can't tell you how many ladies tell me, well, I never turn that thing on. It's a hassle. Okay, it's like saying I don't buckle my seatbelt. If you get in a car accident and you don't have your seatbelt on because it's a hassle, you're going to get hurt. And if you don't set your alarm, there's no way to protect your house, you know, especially if you're not home. So set your alarm systems, and if you have an alarm system, get it checked if you can. You know, obviously all this is cost implications, and if you can't afford it, I get it. But if you can afford it, get your alarm system checked, test it, and get it upgraded if it's not already has a lot of hardwired components. Because more and more of the alarm systems, someone told me in the town hall on Monday that ADT won't even do hardwired anymore. So I don't know if that's true or not, but if that is true, find another alarm company. Because, you know, the wireless systems, they are jamming. And if it's hardwired, then that system will at least get the signal. And then you have to have redundancy and communication to get that alarm to your alarm company. So what's old is new. So if you can, keep a landline or have one, do that. If a lot of them can't, they're gone, then the next choice is VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocols. That's on your internet provider. It's what you might have an UMA phone or something on that. It goes out over that, over the Ethernet. Then the next one is cellular, and the final one's radio. Have redundant communications to get the signal out. Try to put the signal transmission at a point that's away from the back of the house, because they like to come in the back, and that's where their jammers typically are. So hardwired, redundant communication. Yes?
Question, what typically vehicles are they getting, the vehicles that they're driving? Are they renting them?
It's a variety of vehicles. They're very adaptable, and they're not dumb.
Well, because we've discussed having, the name of the camera system escapes me, but we've discussed.
Flock.
What's that?
Flock system?
Yes, the flock system in the township here.
I would absolutely recommend that the township get flock cameras, if you don't have them. A number of communities have them. They're very, very helpful. Flock cameras are LPRs, license plate readers. And so if you get an active burglary that happened in a neighborhood and there's a flock camera nearby, you can immediately say, what plate just came out of that neighborhood? Yes?
I had heard that houses that were on wooded lots were very susceptible.
It's not just wooded. got an itch. It's not just wooded, it's secluded. So if you back up to woods, if you back up to a golf course, if you back up to a park, if you back up to a lake, if you just have 2 or 3 acres, it's seclusion in the back where they're not going to be observed by a neighbor. And then they feel pretty comfortable in operating. That's where some of the videos you may have seen on the news where the safe sliding down the stairs in the backyard and smashing and making noise, they know the neighbors aren't going to see it or hear it.
So if you live in a house like that, should you have a lot of motion detector lights, or do they come at night or during the day?
Typically, their hours we have seen have been between, and they've kind of adapted a little bit, but between 5 and 10.
Okay.
Motion detector lights, absolutely. The kind I have in my house actually flash 3 times before they stay on because they draw my attention. I can be sound asleep, and if the motion light outside the bedroom flashes, I wake up. Of course, that's just me, you know. I mean, any cop that goes to an ATM is going like they're on a tactical mission just to get money out of the bank. But, yeah.
Just real quick on the flock cameras, so that people can hear me. Everyone aware that the Vibe Credit Union was robbed a couple months back? They caught them within 24 hours because there's a flock camera at Andersonville and Dixie in Waterford. They had the description of the car, they got the information from that camera, was able to capture it, and they had them within 24 hours. So I throw that in.
Yeah, it's a big help for us. You're just getting busy down here. So mostly secluded, mostly private. Motion detector lights, absolutely. Updated camera systems, hardwired again. Because again, a lot of the stuff, you know, your Rings and your Nests and your Simply Safe, those are all wireless. And a lot of different folks will say, yeah, but we use military grade, which there really is no standard definition, A. And B, when they say they're using rotating frequencies, you know, so that if this is blocked, it'll go out on this one, that presumes that the jammer doesn't cover that spectrum. So it might work, but I prefer hardwired.
So this jammer that you talk about, this is just a handheld device that they bring?
It's a multi-spectrum, multi-antennaed frequency jammer. In one of the burglaries that we had about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, they must have activated their jamming system from in the wooded area before they came into the camera view because the back cameras went down. The house was hit, and after the burglary was over, the cameras came back up.
So you say they're really going after jewelry, watches, things like that. Have there been any issues with them taking firearms from people's homes? at all?
Again, the Chileans have been averse. They have taken a couple different times firearms, but then they were found later. So in the one home, somebody was home and the firearm was taken, and then it was found in the bushes in the backyard. They probably took it so the homeowner couldn't use it against them, and then they ditched it. A guy that was at our town hall actually publicly stood up and said, I was one of the broken homes. I had, 2 firearms that went missing, and lo and behold, we found them both. One was shoved way up under a bed where we never would have looked, and so they didn't, this group didn't want it, because that adds penalties, and it also adds, other kinds of things. But again, the Colombians are not adverse to it. Other questions? Yes.
How many Colombian gangs have you found here in Oakland County?
Well, I don't know that we can say how many gangs. I can tell you how many crews we've arrested, components of 2 crews, separate crews in Oakland County, but there's been vastly more, we know that. Again, because intelligence tells us there's at least 100 teams from Chile alone, and their crews are typically 3 to 6. So let's just call it on the high end, 600 people that are cruising the country doing it just from Chile. Yep.
Have there been any of these break-ins in Independence Township?
I don't recall Independence getting hit. We've been hit in Rochester Hills, we've been hit in Oakland Township, Bloomfields, all the Bloomfields, Farmington Hills, Novi, Franklin, Wixom, Northville, the Points.
You haven't gotten this far north yet.
Yeah, I mean, and people say, what neighborhood? It's not a neighborhood or community specific, it's a house specific. So, one woman asked me to come look at her house. She was a friend of a friend. I've been asked to go to a lot of people's houses, so hit me on Facebook. Anyways, I went to her house, and when I pulled into her driveway, I was like, you're not on the list. The house at the end of the block got hit. That house was on the list. It was about a $3 million house on a block where the other houses weren't that, and it backed up to a very private 3 acres. So that house would have been on the list, her house not so much. I mean, beautiful house and a very sweet lady, but probably not on the list.
Just because it's not worth it, or? there's too many-
Yeah, I mean, they spend their time looking for a very attractive target, and they do their pre-ops on that. I mean, it's like, do you want to go to the 7-Eleven or you want to go to the bank? Where's the money?
Right.
And they're going where the money is.
So you say they also use drones to fly over your home. So if we see a drone flying over a house, should we report it?
Yeah, if it's late at night or it's just bizarre, it's flying over your house, don't be afraid to call it in. I mean, it could be the neighbor's kid, but
Yeah.
obviously that's okay. But we've had a number of those very high-end neighborhoods that, like, after dark, they're hearing, that's unusual.
You say it's the time frame is from 5 in the afternoon to 10 o'clock at night?
That's the typical time frame.
Seems like that's when most people would be home. Or like you say, they'd be scout.
Yeah, they seem comfortable in those time frames.
I had heard that they're profiling the houses on Zillow.
Yeah, I think they profile it any way they think they can get the most information. Some people have asked to have their photos taken down from Zillow.
I was told to claim your house on Zillow, and then when you claim it, you can have everything taken down.
Yeah, so, here's the other thing, how many of you post pictures when you're on vacation?
Great. I know.
I mean,
That's more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in Florida, and your house is empty. So, everybody that likes to do that, I suggest, okay, take all your pictures, and when you get home, post all your I'm living my best life shots. I just got back, I'm home, here's the fun we had. Then you can still get your likes. And and tell your friends what you've been up to so they all feel jealous. That's fine. But you're home. You know.
So it's okay to post your new shotgun?
Yeah, just got this.
Just polishing it up.
Yeah.
Hope to see you soon.
Practiced up. So yeah, anytime you can reduce your exposure to information, it's a good thing, you know. But they've got lots of other ways. I mean, I can, without using any of our police resources, I can Google you and probably find out where you live, who you're married to, what phone numbers you've had, what jobs you've had, just on a lot of data search, because there's so much data out there, and people give it up freely. It's amazing what they post. I mean, how many people have a Facebook page that put their phone number in there?
Yeah.
A lot of people. Yep.
Sheriff, the other thing too is what we're seeing out there is that there's so many public sources of data as well. As you can get your house taken down from Zillow, a month later it'll be back on Zillow. And they're gathering this from government data sources. They're buying the data and they're putting it online. So just because you took care of it one time doesn't mean you don't go back 3 months later and check again, because they're buying this data repeatedly.
Yeah, I mean, periodically Google yourself or your home address and just see what pops up, and see if, to the extent you can do a little house cleaning. That's only one way, though. You know, I mean, they can look at Google Earth and get the kind of outline and the privacy of a neighborhood, and see, whoa, that's got a 2-3 acre yard, and that's a very big house. Now you're on the potential list right there, without even knowing who lives there. And they do some targeting, you know, we have seen for Asians and for Middle Eastern folks, because a lot of them own businesses and bring cash receipts home. So we've seen some targeting of that, but not exclusive.
Mike,
Yes.
I have a question. As we keep hearing about the million illegals coming across, and you see in different cities how the influx of these people, are you finding that in our area? Does that lead to more maybe small petty crimes, or?
You know, we haven't seen large numbers of, you know, people that have gathered in areas like, say, New York City or elsewhere. We haven't seen that. And occasionally there's false rumors. That, you know, there's like wildfire, this one false rumor that they were being housed in Oakland County parks. And everybody started sharing it, and our phone lines lit up in our dispatch center, and it was all completely false. No one's being housed in the parks. We patrol the parks. We would have noticed. And then the parks, I called them, and they put out a very strong statement. You know, we're not housing anybody. Our focus is on a quality experience for our community and our taxpayers. But that got shared a gazillion times, that all sorts of illegals were being housed in Oakland County parks. Not true. Yep.
2 more questions. Have you gotten any support from Michigan's representatives in Washington, our senators, or the representatives for Oakland County?
Well, I've talked to them, and some are more responsive to listening and communicating, but we still have status quo. I mean, it may not be in their personal ability to change it. It's more administration. But I just don't think it's getting the action or the pressure from Congress that it deserves. I mean, it's hammering the country. It's all over.
So do you think if we got in touch with our
I
representatives?
always think it's important to contact your representatives on every level of government and tell them, hey, this is what, you know, you represent me. I'm concerned about this, and I encourage you to get engaged. You know, on every level. Because if you don't take policies that make a difference, and if you don't properly resource who's fighting it, combating it, you're not going to change things. So for us, it's been a challenge. We're under-resourced. I was talking to Commissioner Joliet about our helicopters are 22 years old. And, you know, the county got a whole bunch of money from the federal government during COVID and after ARPA money, $500 million almost in total. And Macomb County gave their sheriff $125 million to upgrade facilities. I'm a much bigger agency, and we're a bigger county, and I got zero. And so we've got 2 helicopters that are breaking down all the time. Obviously, they would be very helpful when we have a transnational incident. We pop them up if they're running and try to get overwatch. We're also using them a lot for, after Highland Park, Illinois had the shooting from the rooftop at a parade. Now all the parades and community events in Oakland County are asking us to do overwatch with our helicopters. Well, unless they're airborne, we can't do it. So, we have needs. My training center that is an abandoned middle school, we've been trying to get a training center built for a long time. And we were just told they're going to kick us out in 2 years. They want to sell it. And that's an abandoned middle school. We can't have it. And our storage building is an abandoned car dealership that flooded and was broken into. So we don't have a lot of the resources you would expect in a county that is one of the wealthiest counties in America. And it's a bit frustrating.
So maybe that phone call should ask the candidates
Exactly.
what their position is on crime and supporting law enforcement before we make our vote.
And maybe we need to go to our commissioners too. Not you, Karen.
No, come talk at the meetings, because the powers that we need to hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, they hear it from us, but from the public.
Well, that was kind of a good lead into my second question. I really appreciate that you want to give the most significant charge possible against these gangs, but then we have to pay for them for 20 years in prison. Can we deport them with some kind of agreement that they will be
Well,
imprisoned?
there's no agreement that they won't come back. I mean, you've seen that time and time again. But if you get a significant charge, yeah, you got to pay for them to be in prison, but it sends a pretty significant message. This is not the place you want to commit your crime. And then after they serve their time, they are deported. And it's a felony if they come back.
Back to the fentanyl, and the problem that has really arisen over the past few years about, younger generation buying it on the street. How affordable is it for, it must be cheap for.
Super cheap.
For, a 15, 16-year-old.
Yeah, super cheap. It's very inexpensive.
China,
Yep. Any other questions? You want me to take a selfie and say I'm not home? There we go. Oh, wrong way. I'm acting like a... There we go. Everybody, you ready?
All these people are not home.
I won't post it until midnight. Other questions? Can I bum you out anymore? I know everybody usually walks out of the meeting. Everybody usually walks out of the meetings where I talk and they're like, oh my God. I never want to go to a meeting where he talks again. But yeah, we're always available. Obviously, your substation commander, if you're in Independence, is always available. I'm always available. Anybody that calls, I return their phone call. And I just think that's important. I know we're in a county of 1.3 million people, but somebody calls, I return the phone call. And message me on Facebook, whatever. I don't message on Facebook me if it's something important, because I may not get to it for a while, because I started at 5 a.m. today and won't get home. Yeah, I'm probably not going to look at Facebook when I get home, but message me, and I'll definitely will get back to you if you send me a message or, whatever. Or contact the substation, or you can shoot us an email. Our website has a bunch of information and also an email that you can send an email to us. That's oaklandsheriff.com. So easy to get me.